And welcome back to another fantastical episode of Weekend Weeb-out.
It's been so long.
How long has it been? We did an episode after Aaaaand, I think?
Like almost a month.
Yeah. Well, I was gone for most of that month, so it makes a lot of sense. As always, I'm Cherbie.
I'm Malrogg.
And we are actually have a guest today, a good friend of ours. Want to introduce yourself really quick?
My name is
It's okay.
I wanted to start off with that.
Yeah.
No, I'm SpeteMaster.
Yes, he is actually Malrogg's beloved brother.
My little brother.
Yes.
What's the terminology for that?
Our Oni-chan.
No, yeah,
Wrong.
yeah, I know. It's it's not
to-
Emoto. Emoto's younger sister.
So it's like younger brother, whatever that is. It's not
he,
usually used.
he is the equivalent of Malrogg's Latina.
La Latina. Yeah, Latina.
Oh,
Yeah.
but there's a lot to catch up on, a lot of different shows that have started, because we're 3 weeks into the summer season now?
Yeah, we are about 3 weeks into the new season. So the last season came to a conclusion, but we still got a couple series that are continuing into the new one. 2 of which are both Fruits Basket and Demon Slayer. So we're keeping on and keeping up with those ones as they move through their different arcs and continue to introduce new characters. So those are really fun, but we just got a lot of new shows, and this is turning out to be a fantastic summer for anime.
So far, it's great.
Yeah.
Enough of a good season of anime that even I'm keeping up on some of the series as they air, which never happens.
One thing
by
I
the
know
way.
about SpeteMaster is he does not like watching episodically
I
at all.
hate watching week by week because I hate getting invested in an
can't
anime
handle-
and then not being allowed to watch any more of it for another 7 days.
No
I hate that.
cliffhangers for him. So he'll binge it when it's over and then patiently wait. But thankfully, we got him to watch a couple of things of his own accord.
There are a couple shows that he'll be keeping up on, and we can begin by talking about some of them. So, how would we like to start with To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts?
One of the ones that I've actually just happened to be watching because Malrogg was watching it, and I figured, well, I got nothing better to do.
Roped in. I did see the first episode of this, and we're 3 episodes in now.
Yes, we are 3 episodes now into this
From
one.
the first episode, it's a very interesting world.
Very entertaining.
Yeah, because it's not like the sacred beasts, where the people that can turn into beasts are a commodity. They're actually like what? They're crafted by the one girl who is like a scientist with them.
Well, they are basically war veterans. They are recruited and used as human soldiers, and once the war is over, they can't turn back from their beast forms, so they become a menace to the society that they now protected. So it's almost like a commentary on veterans issues in a sense, which I think is kind of interesting, because normally, like, you know, once you go through the war is the entire show, and then after the show, and then it's like, hey, we've achieved peace, and then the show ends and you don't see anything after that. But soldiers, they dedicate their entire lives and their bodies to war, and then they come back and now everybody else is at peace and they're trying to live peaceful lives.
How do they live a world of peace where they've been in a war their whole
exactly
lives?
And they've still got like PTSD, and like in the show it's all part of the lore where their bodies have become like monstrous beasts, where, like, you know, they're dragons, werewolves, minotaurs, and like harpies, and all these various different creatures, which were effective in the war and they were good at that. But then once the war is over, they've kind of begun to lose their sanity a little bit. So one of the characters who is the leader of their battalion is going around and basically taking their lives.
He's hunting them down.
Yeah, hunting them down. So it's almost kind of a depressing premise, but it's an interesting one nevertheless.
Okay.
But yeah, so what were your thoughts on the show?
Out of all the shows that I'm watching currently this season, this is the one that I'm least invested in, but I'm mostly keeping an open mind on it right now because I'm just along for the ride, watching it whenever you watch it, not really going out of my way to keep up with it.
Right.
But from what the first episode was the one I was most invested in. Very interesting. Yeah, it's like it's not that it's certainly not a bad anime at all. It's just I don't have much of an opinion on it yet because I like to simply take it all in first and foremost, and then once the show is over, then I can like take that time to digest it. But yeah, it's fun watching monsters fight each other, watching this not only external struggle between the leader and his former comrades, but also the internal struggle between these soldiers and them slowly losing their humanity, and what that whole issue is and what it means to be a person versus like a monster, where you draw the line there. So that's interesting. Certainly looks very nice. But yeah, I'm basically leaving an open mind right now and just watching it with a minimum investment, just in case like it takes a drastic turn in like the story or like becomes less interesting, because it's exciting right now. But who knows? We'll see.
It looks like it's probably going to be more episodic, where you'll have like a monster of the week sort of scenario, where every episode's going to be like a different comrade that he has to like hunt down.
Because there were lots and lots of them in that group together, so that does make sense that episode 3 can be about him taking out this particular monster who is his former comrade, or the next episode would be a different monster who was another person in his team. So yeah, that makes sense.
Monster of the week. Are we getting into tabletop gaming now? Is that what we're doing?
Something like that. But yeah, one thing that I will point out for it is, other than the interesting side of the premise, which I think SpeteMaster actually mentioned and was like the internal struggle, I think is very interesting, and like the idea of soldiers and post-traumatic stress disorder and like that sort of thing isn't explored very much in anime. But also, I'm really impressed by the animation of the episodes and of the monsters, because oftentimes monsters tend to be done in 3D animation, computer graphics.
Unfortunately,
right?
so yes.
Yeah, they oftentimes do, because like it's something it's easier to do, it's cheaper, it's something you can do faster, and usually with monsters, because they're monstrous and they tend to be terrifying in a way, you can almost use that as a means to be like, we can do something that's a little bit jarring, because it matches the creatures are supposed to be jarring in a sense. So they tend to like make monsters like 3D or whatever. But in this one, they're not doing that. They're actually fully 2D drawing and animating the monsters to look really nice.
That's a breath of fresh air.
I was impressed. The entire first episode, they were all done in that style of animation. I was like, oh, okay, that's really nice, because I was worried they were probably going to go with 3D. But
no, honestly, I didn't even think about that, because I haven't watched as many anime lately, so I haven't really thought of that.
Been a lot of CG use,
That's
but also a lot of
2D
good
versus
CG use as well.
I'm a bitter old man when it comes to like the uses of some CD. Yeah.
Well, you've been burned plenty of times by a good anime being slowed down or dragged down by just like jarring god awful.
Now I've only
CG.
seen the first episode, and that was about 2 weeks ago now since it launched. So I'm trying to remember a lot of the animation. Is from the screen caps and some of the pictures and memes I see. Is it similar in art style to like Fist of the North Star, but a lot more like better quality? I was trying to remember, because I saw some
Fist of the North Star is an older show, so it's definitely different than that.
But imagine like the same kind of like faces and whatnot, and just kind of like crisper lines, because some of the pictures I've seen kind of remind me of it. I guess it's just been a while.
A little bit.
I do know that this anime is from the same studio that did Dusk Maiden of Amnesia, which is one of my personal favorite anime.
So now we know the reason why
actually,
SpeteMaster's actually watching this.
Was that Mappa as the studio did it? It's the same author for sure.
The author is named Maybe.
Yeah, the author Maybe is the one who did the manga for this. So it's the same author, but I don't know if it's exactly the same studio. But nevertheless, you can kind of see some character similarities.
That's the slight interest I have in the anime right now. That's one of the factors.
He's like, I know this author.
I like his work, so I'm giving it a shot.
Yeah.
Again, I may be painting it in a bad light, but no, this anime is definitely a fun ride and worth.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. It actually is almost kind of a dark horse of the season, because it could actually turn out to be far better than I'm expecting. And there's lots of shows where I go into the season thinking this is going to be the best show of the season, and then it kind of peters out. Whereas other ones where I wasn't even expecting, like episode 4 or 5, I'll like start watching them then. And then I get surprised and blown away by how good it is.
Because right now, Sacred Beast is definitely being overshadowed by several other.
Yeah, there's a lot of good shows this season.
Phenomenal anime this season.
But we could at least give a passing mention to one anime that will not increase in value or depth, and that would be Isekai Mom.
Oh, dude, MILF Isekai.
That will not get any better.
Okay, all right. So I checked out the first episode because I was like, oh, this is a weird premise.
We had high hopes.
I was thinking it could be like...
Which unfortunately means so did I.
Yeah, it was like, it could be like Konosuba. Maybe it'll like turn the isekai genre on its head and like make fun of it or something, right? But it turns out this is more just of a fetishy sort of show where it's just catering to the MILF lovers out there. And that is especially accentuated in episode 2 where they fight against the slime monster.
You can end it right
and
there.
all the clothes are gone. And it just continues, and you're like, oh man, this is just, it's not what I was looking forward to.
For those of you on iFunny and 9gag, you've probably seen enough GIFs uploaded of the moment to realize that that's the entire show.
Yeah, pretty much it looks like that's the entire show. So we are not continuing with that one, but there are shows that we just kind of gave a shot to and are turning out to be really fun and really cute and interesting. So let's move on to Are You Lost?
AKA, what's the survival
Bear Grylls Chan?
Bear Grylls Chan.
Yeah. I can't remember what that show is actually called, though.
Survivor.
It's not Survivor, because that's like that other show.
Something Wild.
Anyways, moving on from that, this show is fantastic
literally that, but
so
anime.
far. Yeah, it honestly is so fun, and there hasn't been a moment that I would consider dull in the show so far. Every moment seems like specifically placed there for our entertainment.
Its one and only drawback or shortcoming is that each episode is only 12 minutes long.
It's a short form.
It is a short form show, so you're only gonna get little snippets, and it's more on the comedy side / information side, like learn about survival / little hints of like lewdness here and there to kind of like keep you interested, because a basic premise is a bunch of there's like 4 high school girls that like get in a plane crash and they all end up on this island. They're like, oh no, we're gonna die, but one of them happens to be this ultimate survivor expert who in worst case scenario drink your own piss sort of thing, and just takes it all dead seriously. She's kind of
Girls was a cute anime girl.
Well, she mentions too, she goes, all 3 of the girls like say something about themselves. What's something about you? And she just goes, this isn't my first time being lost or deserted.
Desert island. And so she's like really good at survival, and she helps you with both the characters in the show and you, the viewer, with being like, oh, if I was stuck in a survival situation, what would I do? She'll be like, okay, here's the rule of 3s, and explains about, keeping your body temperature, making sure you have water and having a food source, and how long you can survive without those things before you need them, before you die. And I was like, oh, okay, rule of 3s. That's pretty cool.
Very informative.
Yeah, so I learned something. And then, they have little Yuri scenes where she's like, oh, you need spit. And so then she, kisses her and gives her some spit. And you're like, oh.
But no, I mean, this is definitely... the 3 of us tend to gravitate towards those anime that are not only fun, but also educational, where you, learn stuff. We all really enjoyed watching last year Cells at Work, because it was a fun little anime, but it's also like, wow, we're learning things about the human body.
Yeah.
And this is not similar. It's like, oh, it's fun and exciting, but we're actually learning how we could survive in these kinds of situations.
Yeah, or Yuru Camp, where it's like, oh, camping, and you learn about camping.
I just like that every time a locust flies by the screen, she just picks it up and throws it in her mouth. Like every time a bug has flown by,
without even seeing, she just catches it and eats it.
I don't know, she's giving me some strong best girl of season vibes. I'm getting being like, oh man, this is best girl, because she really doesn't care. And it's super funny.
Oh man!
But yeah, no, it's an excellent show. Unfortunately, a little short, but I'm glad that it's being animation is nice. Lots of pretty bright colors, and then lots of information you can learn about survival. So
everybody's waiting for it to finish, so that way you're not waiting 7 days to watch.
But the good
minutes.
news is that if it's something that you're interested in at least checking out, it's not a long watch.
Right.
Very minimal investment. True story.
One good poo on the toilet with your phone, and you can watch the whole first episode and get a good feel of it.
That's right. And speaking of other short form, we're kind of going through the shows as they come out. So Sacred Beast came out on Monday. Are You Lost comes out on Tuesday, at least for us here in the U.S. And another show that comes out on Tuesday is a show called Magic Senpai.
Wrong one.
The next one.
Greatest show.
All right, so this is another short form show. It's another comedy show. But
you've seen it all online. There's just pictures of it everywhere. But okay, we have to do this now. We have to
the world's worst magician.
we have to properly describe her, and we're going to use Konosuba as a reference. Imagine if you take Aqua's uselessness, and now you take Darkness's lewdness, and you take Megumi's magic. And you combine them all together, and you have a useless magician who's lewd.
Useless lewd mage. Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what this is.
So she's pretty much a combination of all the Konosuba girls. She's really enthusiastic about magic. she's, you know, but she's really bad at it, so she always fails all the time, and she ends up having this guy who she just grabs and is like, "You're gonna be my assistant now." He's like, "Oh, okay."
Well,
he just kind of goes along
really
with
quick
it.
so that they know we're not talking about real magic, like fantasy magic.
No, it's
she wants to be a magician, like with card tricks and rings and boxes.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff
Penn
like
and
that.
Teller, basically.
Yeah,
she wants to do something like that, right? And so then she grabs a guy and she's like, "Okay, you're gonna be my assistant." And he turns out to be really skilled at magic, whereas she's really awful. And so it's just a bunch of little comedy sketches along those lines, and like it's also a short form. It's only like 10, 12 minutes long.
And there's like 3 or 4 sketches per episode.
Yeah, there's a couple sketches per episode, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. So like, you know, it would be a short investment if you want to check out. It definitely sells itself with some of the lewdness and the comedy. Those are its 2 like selling points. But
it certainly has been funny so far, just to watch her just flail about and fail at everything.
One where she gets stuck in a box, and then, like, he just has to cart her away and, like, save her.
2 minutes later, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later,
Yep.
I'm just gonna push her away. The show's over. Goodbye!
Or the one scene I saw where she's like, she takes his money, and then she puts it in an envelope and says, "Okay, now I'm going to cut this envelope, and it's gonna magically reappear somewhere else." And he's like, "You better not actually do anything to my money." She's like, "Don't worry, this will work." So she cuts the envelope with the money inside. It was like, what, like 5,000 yen bill or something?
Yeah, like 500 yen or something.
A lot of money for the guy. And so she cuts it, and then she kind of just pauses, and he can tell that she's screwed up. And so like, what she does is she's like, "Now I'm going to make it reappear," and she takes out her own wallet.
Through tears.
While crying, she takes out her own wallet and pulls out the same bill, and like, "Oh look, it magically appeared in my wallet," and she's crying and hands him her money because she cut his in half.
And you see, they play off the humor of previous bits, because later on, you know, he finds her in the park, and she cuts someone else's 1,000 yen thing, but only she doesn't have money to give him back, so she calls him over to pay it.
So it's basically like, you know, comedy, a little bit of lewdness here and there, and that's just kind of its selling point. But all in all, it's a cute little show. Definitely not the star of the season.
Yeah.
By far. But I think it's worth the 10 minutes to check it out.
Yeah, if you don't like the first episode, everything else is pretty much just the same exact way.
Yeah, exactly. You can do a
cut
1
and dry.
episode test on this one, and then after that, then you can see what you think.
You don't have to be as hardcore as us and watch all 3 episodes of the first season.
Yeah, speaking of hardcore,
oh no!
on Wednesday, one of the top shows comes out. This is SpeteMaster's
My
personal favorite show. It's called "How Heavy Are the Dumbbells That You Lift?"
Heavy.
Macho.
I gotta say, this entire household is more motivated to go to the gym this week than I've ever seen.
Okay, I want to put out there the reason why I was interested, or how I discovered this anime and had the urge to watch it, was from 9gag. I was down in Tennessee.
Memes.
I was
The
down
power
in
of
Tennessee
memes.
3 weeks ago at my best friend's wedding, and I'm sitting there in the room, like, prepping for the ceremony, and so I'm bored, scrolling 9gag, waiting for something to happen, and I see this gif of a girl lifting weights, and I'm like, oh, it's an anime about exercising, and I like to think of myself as a health nut or an exercise nut, so I'm like, oh, I like exercising. This is an anime about exercising. It's obvious that I should watch this.
So why don't you give us a quick synopsis, Malrogg?
Okay, so basically we have a girl who eats a lot. She's gaining a little bit of weight, and she's like, oh no, I gotta lose this weight. And so then she tries working out at home, but she can't do it. She doesn't have the motivation. So this new giant Silverman gym, not Goldman's gym, but Silverman's gym, shows up to town. And there's, like, free subscriptions, like, if you try it out. So she's like, okay, I'm going to show up and try it. So she shows up, and the gym is full of these ultra macho dudes doing hardcore exercises. And she's like, oh, my gosh, she's super intimidated by it. But then, because she needs to try losing weight, she gets roped in with her and her classmate, who's like, you know, the president of the school, but has this super muscle fetish and is really into muscles.
She's like got hearts in her eyes every time a
she's
guy
like, she's like crazy over muscles, and she like wants to become super macho, and so she ropes is it Sakura Hibiki? Yeah, Sakura. She ropes Sakura in to join her for her workouts, and then we start getting more girls that join in on these workouts, and they develop their muscles, and they basically teach you how to work out.
Another informative educational
It's educational. Yeah, that's right. They show you the proper form. They tell you, you know, what kind of exercises you should do if you want certain results. how to do it properly so you don't injure yourself.
There's even tips on dieting, different types of dieting styles for whether or not you want to lose weight or bulk up. How much you should eat.
Now, one of the things that I actually like about this anime is when the girls like point at each other and goes, "Man, you're putting on some weight there." You always see an anime like, "Oh, you're getting heavy, you're getting," but they don't look it at all.
Yeah.
Like in any way, you're just like, "Oh, you're kind of making people feel bad because you're saying you're fat or you're getting chubby." But then when they point at Hibiki and go, "You're getting kind of chubby," and then it shows like this like weird camera angle, you're like, "Oh wow, she is."
She actually is.
They took the time to draw it out to make it look like that, and it's like, okay, this is actually a little bit more realistic, which I like. But for those of you watching, there is one thing that's a little triggersome about this anime, is that she eats a lot, and every time she's eating anything in the show, they show the calorie count of literally everything. Just like highlights on screen. Oh, this hot dog with this 290 calories, and they like just keep adding it on. So you sit there and add up, and she's like intaking 4,000 calories in the scenes we see.
And then you're like, oh man. So yeah, she has to work that out. But then the other girl is like, oh, Sakura, this is perfect. You're eating so much and you're doing all these muscle workouts, you're gonna become macho. And so then she's convinced that she's basically doing everything she's supposed to do to like become this bulky macho girl, but she doesn't want to. It's just by force of her own.
She just wants to lose a little weight.
Yeah, just of her own habit. So she's like, kind of a shy girl who wants to try and work out, ends up in this glorious workout situation, surrounded by muscle men, and the ultimate Macho-san.
Dude, he sold it for me.
Who his face and his body do not match. he has like
disproportionate.
He has this little, like, compared to his giant macho body when he like flexes and becomes super big. He's got this little shiny, like, pretty boy head, and then this giant ripped chiseled body.
That's the weird thing, though. He's a normal sized human when he's wearing clothes. But if any of you remember Wandissimo from Fairly Odd Parents, that is exactly what happens. Yep. He's a normal-sized dude, but then when he flexes, his body grows Hulk size, and his clothes just rip off, and then he becomes this huge monster.
When we meet him, he's in a tracksuit and looks like any normal protagonist, and he has like a normal anime face. And then all of a sudden he flexes, breaks his entire tracksuit, becomes like JoJo size and larger, but his face doesn't change.
His head size stays the
His
same.
head's the same, has the same flat anime face. Everything else is chiseled and detailed, but no cheekbones,
still has
nothing.
This dopey face, so it's really quite funny.
Really
it's
reminiscent of scenes of One Punch Man.
So they've got lots of funny faces in their reactions to various things. So that's a part of the comedy and informative. So it's fairly comparable to Are You Lost? I think that's
Plus, the anime looks really, really pretty.
It does.
It's from the same studio that did Helpful Fox Senko-san and New Game, which are all like really beautiful looking anime. But they don't really have a whole lot of substance or depth to them.
Right.
But that's not what you watch these shows for. Which... all right, little side rant. Like, I am annoyed. Like, it makes sense why I liked this show, even though there really wasn't a whole lot behind it, because... Unfortunately, for me, this is just a personal opinion. Unfortunately, the same exact thing happened when I started watching New Game. Like, I hate that I liked New Game as much as I did because it's just blatant pandering and fan service, but I enjoyed it anyways, and so I hate myself, not the show. I hate myself for liking the show as much as I did because I know that it doesn't deserve my admiration as much as I did.
You know what you are.
I refuse to accept that I am what I am.
You realize what kind of creature, what sort of base appetites you have.
And so when I'm watching Dumbbells, I'm like, I feel like I felt this feeling before. Where did I feel? Oh,
and then
New
suddenly,
Game.
girl abs on screen.
Oh yeah,
and then Adam sold.
I stayed for that rippling midriff.
Oh, Speed.
So this is a longer. It's a 24 episode, so it's a regular show.
Oh,
the last two ones we talked about were like 10, 12 minutes each, so they're kind of short and sweet. This one's a little bit longer, and they've got a lot more material to work with.
You mean 24 minutes long?
Yeah, 24 minutes per episode.
Oh,
so it's a regular length episode.
Okay.
And I think it's also going to be like a 24 episode show. I think it's going to actually continue.
Hey, so we should be working out while it's going, and maybe
I'll have to check it out though. But there's a lot of shows that are going to continue into the fall season, so we'll have plenty of stuff to watch until the end of the year. But yeah, moving on to the next show.
Ooh.
I'm gonna be quiet for just a few of these because a lot of these are ones that I have not watched any of.
Yeah, it's okay.
You're
It's
still
all right.
Here?
This is
No, I'm not.
This is a kind of a simpler show. I only watched it kind of on impulse just to check it out. The name of the show, the longer name, I didn't write it down, is If It's For My Daughter, I Would Defeat the Demon Lord, I think is the name of the long term. I just call it Demon Daughter.
Yeah.
For the length of the show. But basically, you've got an adventurer, and he comes across this little girl in a forest. Her what appears to be her father seems to be dead. And she also has a little horn, so she's clearly of a different species. That is a little demon species or whatever. So he decides to adopt her. And the show is basically him doting over his newfound adopted daughter and like geeking out and being like, oh, she's so cute. And then she learns like new words and learns to say things like,
because she speaks a different language.
I miss you. And she learns how to speak their language. And she's like, and whenever he leaves, she's like, oh, I miss you. I feel safe when you're around. And he's like, oh, you're so cute. I can't possibly leave. He's just like a new, like, it's like lots of new father energy, basically, is what we're getting out of this show. And it doesn't have a lot going on other than that. It's just kind of a small little cute show of a cute little daughteroo sort of thing. But yeah, have you checked this?
So I watched the first episode today,
Okay.
just so I could be caught up. I do definitely want to watch the rest of it. From the first episode, I'm kind of getting the my roommate is a cat vibes, where it's like starts out kind of like exciting a little bit, and then it's just going to be fun and cutesy.
It's just cute, yeah.
Yeah. So I do think it's a tad bit weird, the age gap there.
Right,
because he is like, he goes, I just turned 18, I'm an adventurer. Like, well, he acts and talks like he's some big adventurer in town, but he's only 18.
Right.
I don't know how old this girl is, but
I
now
don't know.
he's
She's
a father.
probably like 8 or something. There's probably like a 10-year gap, I would guess. But right now we're getting father-daughter vibes really hard. But down the line, when she gets older...
For now, I'm hopefully optimistic.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's cute and fun.
But this is also Japan. So you never know. And like, so we have no idea. But right now it's just a cute little show. So not much more to say about it than that. It's just a cute little show. Check out the first episode if you're interested at all. And that's that.
Nice. Well, what's next on our list?
Now we're moving into the shows that come out on Fridays. Now Fridays is an all-star lineup for this season, in my opinion. We'll start out with the first one. The first one that comes out on Fridays. They come out, in our morning, so it would be after I get off work and get home to watch them. But the first one is Fire Force.
Oh, Fire Force has been great so far.
This is an interesting show. What are your first impressions of the show?
First off, mad respect for the company of saying they're not going to air episode 3 this week due to what happened to KyoAni.
Yeah.
So happy about that. But I think that this is a huge flex on the company making this because everything looks great.
Yeah, dude.
Fire animations, but the best part, we talked about this, sound effects.
The sound production in this show is really good.
It sounds like it's just crackling around you.
Sounds amazing. Like this is I normally don't pick out the regular sound effects of the show. They're usually just like average and they're fine, whatever. But in this one they really stand out as like the fire is like crackling and roaring and you're just like, oh, you can like feel it and you can also see it. And you're getting all of the it's the same studio that does all the JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, so you're seeing all of that like energy and vibe in this show. And also the author who is writing the manga for this is the one who made Soul Eater, so you have that same sort of like weird, crazy creative world that they invented and all these different people that are all like working towards the same goal, this sort of thing. So like in Soul Eater you had all these Soul Reapers and they were all like unique and interesting and different weapons and guns and stuff like that, and they had this like Halloween sort of world. But in this one it's like a fire human combustion sort of world where people are trying to put out fires and the fires are alive.
So the basic premise of this is that in the modern world, all across the world, something happened where people started spontaneously just combusting. Like they would actually just explode into flames, and there seems to be a bit of a religious kind of feel around it too.
It's like the flames are almost like they're almost like demons. They're called infernals and they're alive, right? And so then you have this squad of, they wear firefighting gear and they fight these fires, but they also are almost like putting out heresy and doing these things for their church.
Like they have a priest with them that like conducts a prayer, kind of like a ceremony. So as they're killing the pyro?
The infernals, they're like putting souls to rest.
They're also
in a
setting
sense.
the human soul to rest. In that process,
so it's an interesting combination of the religious and then the just your run of the mill like firefighting thing, and also people like because of this human combustion, you have some people that have developed these special powers where they either have like these fire feet, like our main character who can like almost like Fire Lord Ozai it from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where he can like fly around using his fire, or you got a guy who can use fire to make a blade, and he's almost like a knight kind of character.
Yeah, which is kind of like a sciencey thing too, because he actually uses it to create plasma.
Yeah.
So he's like a knight that uses the power of his flames to produce plasma. I believe that his sword shoots out some kind of a gas or something.
Yeah, so you almost have like this medieval classes kind of vibe, but it's in a modern world and it's firefighting. So it's a weird combination of stuff. But it's a really interesting premise. It looks really cool. It sounds really cool.
Going back to the sounds really quick, we're talking about how crackling, how alive. I love that because it's trying to get to the viewers to understand fire is alive. We've already seen in this past episode 2, where the fire kind of like takes on a face, and it was like taunting the firefighters in a way, the fire force. And then we hear that sound, and it does a great job of making you feel like the fire is alive, which is I'm gonna guess is something that's gonna be revealed later on down in the show,
right?
That the fire has its own kind of purpose, and I love that. It's a great job.
But yeah, all in all, great show. This is definitely one of the big hyped ones of the season. There are a lot of great shows this season, so we don't know if this one will be like the best of the season or not. But so far, it's been really, really good. But moving on to one that I think is really strutting its stuff as a fantastic show for this season. Dr. Stone.
Oh man,
is a killer show. It looks really good, sounds really good, has a great premise, and it's one of the most interesting shows of the season. I mean, Fire Force was interesting, but I think Dr. Stone is even more interesting in what it's trying to do. So what are your impressions of Dr. Stone?
It's one of the first times that I kind of wish I picked up SpeteMaster's mentality of not watching something episodically.
Because finish before I watch it.
Out of all the shows, this is the one I'm the most like, I can't wait for next week to come here. And so it's beautiful because it gets to the crafter side of me, because I'm like, I love Minecraft. I love all kinds of other games that are like all survival from the very beginning. And this is like basically imagine an OP guy who has played the game year and year and year. He's starting over again going, all right, let's do this. We're going to bring humanity back. We're going to do just the scientific aspect of it, just like how dumbbells is like teaching you like, how to train your body. Dr. Stone really kind of pulls to the chemist in people because he's starting over and goes, oh, what was it? They made steel gunpowder after 1.5 million years of science. We're gonna do it in like a fraction of that time. And like advanced technology. It's so far it's just something that's blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's really cool because the premise is everybody gets turned into stone in the world, right? But the world keeps on moving, right? So nature begins overtaking cities. Everyone's just a bunch of stone people. The landscape changes. Animals continue on living. Like everything continues on going except for the human beings, which have been turned into stone for some reason. 10,000 years later, 3,700 years later, humans, one human in particular wakes up from the stone and breaks free. And so then he starts trying to figure out, okay, what happened? Now I'm free. How do I break other humans free? And then he begins to learn how to bring other humans back. And he's like, I want to restart civilization. And he's like a science master. He's like the ultimate sciencer dude, right? And so it's like answering this question of like, if we knew everything we know now about what we know in like science in the universe, and we were sent back in time to like a prehistoric times, and we wanted to start civilization again and do it from scratch, what would be the fastest and most efficient way to do it? Because science up until today, over the thousands of years that we've been around, has been slow and like long and like taking forever. But if you know, it's like, okay, the end product is here, and we start here. How do we get from here to there in the fastest possible way? So he starts talking about, okay, we need we need this material so that we can start doing, we need to create soap so that we don't die because of bacteria, because bacteria is a big problem. We need to start agriculture again. We need to do, all these other things in order to like actually survive in this world. What do we need? How do we do it? Who do we bring back? Questions like that. And so it asks all those questions, and it's just a fantastic show. It's really well researched. It knows its science of what it's doing.
You should definitely watch it. 10 billion%.
10 billion% chance you should watch it.
But no, it's great. He even mentions it in the anime. I think it was like episode 2. Dr. Stone mentions, no, you fool, science is a long drawn out process. And I love what he had said where our stamina guy just goes, oh, so that means we're not going to be able to understand. There's things that even science can't understand, fantasy things. And then he just goes, no, there's just things that take longer for science to find out, but we will. Like his confidence of, oh yeah, we have no idea what happened or why it happened or how long it's going to happen, but we will find out. Like the confidence that he alludes of, okay, yeah, this is a fantasy world. What just happened is just science fiction. But we will find out how it happened and prove how it happened. Yeah. Like, the guy's brilliant, and I love it.
It's like the premise has a element in that they all get turned to stone, but everything after that is entirely scientifically accurate to our world and our physics and everything that we have to try and understand. So the person who's writing the manga really understands the world. Speaking of which, the person who writes the manga is the same one who wrote iShield 21. So
you guys both love
which is a fantastic
Mm-hmm.
one of the best manga out there. So other than One Piece and the ones that are currently going, one of the best ended mangas in my opinion. So, but yeah, no, fantastic show. And the last show that comes out on Friday that we just watched recently to catch up on is our season 2 of Danmachi.
Oh man, it
has been so long since I watched Danmachi, but watching it again, I was like, wow, this is a fun show.
Sword Art Toria was nothing. It did not tide me over. It did not make me satisfied waiting for season 2. But gosh darn it,
baby.
The first few episodes just really had me in.
Yeah, it's been 4 years since season 1.
It's been a long time.
We watched it in 2015, didn't we? Or 2016?
I don't remember.
Quickly
but
to the internet.
We watched it when it was airing though.
Yeah.
Because it was a big thing. We went to ASEN and we went to the panel that they talked about it and stuff. So it was a fun, enjoyable show.
What does the wiki say?
They're bringing back this adaptation. It's a season 2. It takes place a little bit after the first season, but it's almost like there's some stuff that happened in between that isn't really revealed. So
sure, there'll be some flashbacks.
Yeah, so there'll probably be some flashbacks, but we jump back into it, but we I think it's been a couple days or whatever after they defeated that giant creature at the end of season 1,
yeah,
right?
They're already back in the dungeon.
Yeah, they're back in the dungeon. They've got all their groups, and there are some relationships that I'm still trying to figure out. When did he become friends with these people? Which maybe it was explained more in the manga. Or in the light novel. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm really enjoying them getting back into it because I like Belle. I like Hestia. I like all the characters. They're fun. They're cute. It's an interesting adventure show. And now we're back to this whole scenario where, the small little familia with Hestia and Belle is up against this larger familia of Apollo, who's kind of a D-bag. And so they're like, okay, we're going to have to fight against him. So Hestia's like, okay, I'm going to buy us time. Belle, you need to get stronger. So I was like, oh, it's going to be a training arc.
Well, see, I love this for the aspect of something that one of our friends mentioned when he was coming over was that Belle's ability to be able to surpass and get to goals faster than everybody else kind of thing. So the fact is his one goal was, I'm going to match up with
Eyes,
and I'm going to get as strong as her. And then all of a sudden he just goes, I have to go up against the entire gang of Apollo, their military school. Now I've got to get to that level. So his level increase is just okay, there goes the cap, just blew it off. He's going to level up like mad.
Yeah, 1v100 sort of thing. So he's got to do some mad grinding. And
well, if it's Familia v Familia, literally Hestia has one member in her
which is
Familia.
him, exactly. So that's exactly it. So it starts off really fast. You start off with they're in a banquet and you have this whole this whole confrontation in a tavern, like, you know, that whole thing. So it starts off really quick, it gets you back into the action, and now we've got an antagonist, we've still got our protagonist in Bell, and he's not just working towards an end necessarily. Now there's like an evil villain that's like working behind the scenes, whereas like in the previous seasons, or in the previous season, there wasn't really a villain per se. There was just Belle trying to get better and like trying to get strong.
There was some background stuff with some of the gods that were like trying to get involved.
Yeah,
and,
like
push his buttons.
Like Freya's a little bit of a wild card, you know, that whole thing. But it wasn't like they weren't like Apollo sticks out as like an evil villain. Like the second they brought him in, I was just like, oh man, this is like the villain from Sword Art Online 2, that creepy fairy dude.
But
it was like reminded me of him exactly.
Hermes is a bro.
Dude, Hermes is a total bro. Man. I love me some Hermes.
A perv in the first season, and just like kind of funny, but like immediately you're just like second episode. I think it was.
Oh no, it was the first.
Was it the first one? I think it was the second one because that was when they were first at like getting to the ball.
He challenges them to the war game at the end of episode 1.
Okay,
so
it's
still episode 1, and so he's like goes up and he asks Eyes, he's like, oh, would you like to dance? And she's like, he's like, oh no, I suddenly have to leave, but I can't possibly leave you. Hey Belle, you must come take my place. And so he totally sets them up together.
Yep.
It's like, oh, you have to ask this lady to dance.
And then of course Hermes pays off the other god to what's it called? Take Hestia, and Eyes god and like carry them away.
Yeah.
So he's like totally setting up Belle.
Yeah, because like Hestia and Loki are both like into Eyes and Belle, right? And so they're like, get rid of them. Let these two get together and like, you know, dance or whatever. And so that was a cute scene.
It was a beautiful after how much we went through in season 1, it was adorable to see and made me very happy.
Yeah, and so far the animation has been quite good as well. I've enjoyed the not only the fight scenes but also the choreography and the dance was really good. And I was like, oh, this is actually quite good. Yeah, because oftentimes in dancing you'll see in like wide shots they just they make it so everybody is CG dancing in like circles and stuff like that, but
they played with the camera angles to like not have to show the whole group.
Yeah,
and they animated everything, so it was nice to not see CG.
It looked nice. I've not seen any real bad CG so far this season, which has been enlightening and happy for me.
A breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So yep, Danmachi season 2, it's fun. I'm checking it out. Let's see. And then on Saturday, this is the one that I just checked out because I was interested in it, is we have Lord el-Malloi the Second Case Files. This is a show that is taking place after Fate Zero, but before Fate Stay Night. And it's basically Waver Velvet returns, our favorite little servant, the master who is kind of the servant of Iskander, the King of Conquerors.
King of Conquerors.
And he returns to the Clock Tower, back to the Mages Association, and he basically takes his previous teacher, Archibald el-Malloi's place as like the teacher of the class, and then also in accordance with Archibald's sister, also becomes like her fake brother in a sense, and like takes his place as a member of Clock Tower. He incurs all of their debts and he has to work to help pay them off because he basically feels guilty for what he did, that he stole his master's relic and his master was eventually killed in Fate Zero. Thanks to Kiritsugu and that whole scenario from there.
But we're happy about that, though.
Yeah, no, it's
we
fun.
hated him.
Well, yeah, he was annoying. He was terrible. But nevertheless, Waver felt bad. So now Waver is el-Malloi II, and he's solving mysteries for money. So he's almost like a Sherlock-esque Mage Sherlock in a sense.
I mean, one could say Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, in a sense. But yeah, he's doing that, and it's a fun little show because it's fun to get back into the Fate universe. The one thing I did notice, though, is I do miss the animation from Ufotable, because it's not the same studio. It's Studio Troika, I think, is the one that's doing it. And there are some instances where you're like, okay, I can see the animation is not quite as crisp as what you would have from Ufotable, Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night Unlimited, Budget Works, and good stuff like that. But it's still an interesting little show. It kind of explores some of the various workings of the world and mages. Like, you have these mages that are trying to reach the root, and you're like, oh, okay, I remember, Tosaka, the leader of the Tosaka family, mentioning that at some point. That's something that mages like to do. It explores that a little bit more. You get some of that, and you just get to have our best boy Waver trying to do his best and
Old man
teach.
Waver.
He's become like quite the. he's become quite the man. It's really funny in the show because he's like, actually, you really grew up. He's not that whiny little boy anymore.
We can thank Iskandar for that.
I know, he grew a backbone thanks to that tall Greek king. But and then also he also references back to Iskander at times. He'll mention things about how sometimes, you know, you should a loser is someone who skulks away in the night, but it's someone who stands proudly as a conquering king. And then his students like look at him and are like, "What? Where did that come from? Is that from a video game?" He's like, "No, just from some fool I knew a long time ago." And you're like, "Oh no, it's Fate Zero Rider, come back!" And then you miss him a whole lot more. So it's got that nostalgia factor in it. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. It's just each episode is its own little mystery, basically.
I know what I'll be catching up on tonight.
Yeah, so that's a fun little investment, especially if you enjoy the Fate series. I think so far, especially out of the most recent divergent Fate series like Fate Extra, Fate Grand Order, and all these different like Fate offshoot series.
Apocrypha.
This one takes place within the universe of Fate Zero into Fate Stay Night, and it's taking place in between them, exploring what's happening in England shortly before the Holy Grail War that happens, where like Shiro is involved.
The OG canon.
Exactly. Yep. So it kind of takes place in that universe. So yeah, that's a fun show. Good to check out. And last but not least, on Sundays, we're at long last getting one of my favorite mangas, adaptations into anime, Vinland Saga. Oh my gosh. I've been waiting for this one for years.
That the first 30 seconds, if that doesn't sell you on this anime, nothing will. Viking battles.
Vikings.
Oh man.
The real Vikings.
And it looks good. I mean, granted, like, you know, they're definitely experimenting with some of like the camera angles and some of the like the they're combining like 2D and 3D animation in some of them, especially in some of the fights. But the way that they're handling it and like the way they're using the camera angles on it makes it super dynamic and super fun.
Picture Attack on Titan, but Vikings. I mean, it is the same studio after all, Wit Studios.
It is Wit Studios, yes.
You notice that immediately. You're like, wait, is this Attack on Titan? But they're Vikings.
It is.
It doesn't matter. It's still amazing looking.
It is a fantastic... The manga is fantastic, and I was worried because the manga is really, really detailed. That's one of the key things.
Detailed.
It is a beautiful manga. It's easily comparable to, like, say, Berserk in, like, the detail level of how it's drawn. But... they did a really good job of making it come alive. It looks really good. It's animated really well. And especially if you like darker themes and darker tones, this is going to go a very dark route because they're Vikings. They're going to loot, they're going to pillage, they're going to murder. There's going to be like, you know, things that happen that are just really violent and galling. But it's reflecting the sort of like historical norms that went through, like, it's the Dark Ages, right?
Yeah.
So stuff happens in the Dark Ages that is like, you know, kind of horrifying to our modern sentimentalities, but
story-wise, it draws me into, as someone who hasn't read the manga, like watching the story, there's a bunch of fighting in the first episode, like the first half, and then from there it gets kind of like family man life. He's trying to live the life of just his family, escape from battle, whatnot.
Yeah.
But even in those moments, I find myself very interested. What's going to happen? What's he doing? I know there's going to be some drama coming in, and it's enough to kind of not tease you, but feel like you wanna watch more.
Yeah,
and it's good. I like it so far.
And they did an interesting strategy with this one as well. They dropped the first 3 episodes all at the same time. So we got episodes 1 through 3 all dropped at the same time, but that also meant that the next 2 weeks weren't going to have any episodes. So we're now in the wait period. I think this is the last Sunday before they come out with episode 4. Episode 4 should be next weekend, which will be next Sunday.
Good.
1 week from today. So we'll get our new episode, but we got the first 3, and they were excellent.
And speaking, what have you thought? Because you've watched Vinland. This is one of the ones you've watched, right?
Yeah, like I haven't actually read the manga. I've only seen pictures or bits and pieces of it from when Malrogg or some of my other friends who have read it have shown me. And I'm like, wow, just taking a look at one drawing in that manga, I'm like, this is absurdly detailed. This looks amazing. It's very gritty, very gruesome, but very intriguing and gripping at the same time. And so then when Malrogg said, oh, by the way, Vinland Saga has an anime this coming out this season. I'm like, whoa, really? Okay, I haven't jumped into the manga yet, so this is my opportunity to get into the series. I'm in. Even though I knew I was going to be waiting week after week. I'm like, well, Vinland Saga's worth it, so here I go.
Yeah, there are some images they have that are shown in the opening where it's just like a pan through of an image that is showing like a Viking battle. That entire like frame is like straight from the manga.
Yeah.
So it's like the manga looks just like that without color, obviously. But it's like they just colored in the manga and then panned through it, and that was a part of the opening. So I appreciate they're like doing callbacks to like the drawing in the manga, which looks really good. And Wit Studio so far is doing a really good job of it. So my boys, after finishing the stellar season that is Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2, are now back at it again with one of the best animes of all time.
And again, as Cherbie said, you don't have to know the original source material to appreciate this just as much as somebody who has read the original source material. It appeals to anybody and everybody.
The detail is great, and you can tell even in the anime that the attention to detail was awesome.
Yeah, I'm thinking that from this season, the big three are gonna be Vinland Saga, Fire Force, and Dr. Stone. Like those three, I think are gonna be the big hype shows. And those two are probably going to compete for, like, #1 show of the season. But all in all, there are a lot of really good shows this season. There are some, like, Dark Horse shows. There are some fun shows. Like, Dumbbells is really, really fun. And really entertaining. And, like, I don't know if it'll be able to compete necessarily on the same level. But it's still a great show. And there's lots of stuff to watch. Like, last summer was pretty bad when it came to anime. There were a couple shows. There was like Cells at Work. There was the adaptation of Cran Blue. There were like 2 or 3 shows that were like, yeah, okay, these are pretty good.
Are we talking about last summer?
Last summer,
okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
last year.
Last season.
Yeah, summer of last year was kind of like meh. But this summer is like, oh man. These are some good shows.
It seems like this whole past year has just been one good season after another.
Not to mention, those 3 shows that I mentioned are all going to be at least 24 episodes. So they're all going to keep going until the end of this year. So we're going to have... I don't even know what I'm going to do in the fall. We have so many good summer shows. I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm still in the summer. And then they'll like... But although in the fall, we're going to get My Hero Academia is coming back.
Oh, dang it. Here it comes.
They pushed it back to fall so we can have better animation.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know how we're going to do with that. My mind's just going to explode. I'm going to have to stop going to work and just only watch anime all the time.
What are you talking about? Your job is to go and watch anime.
Yeah, exactly. I just go
back to our old apartment.
That's literally what I do. Is I don't actually earn money. I just go and watch anime all day and then come home and say, "Oh, what a rough day." It's like so hard at work today.
That's a fact.
Yes. But yeah, so overall impressions of the season, my dudes. What are your thoughts overall?
Another one I'm excited about. Just the whole season in general.
Yeah, it's not bad that.
It's not bad that, yeah. No, it's one where there's enough like episodes that are coming out every day of the week that it's like, oh, I could either have something to come home to every day after work to relax and watch, or I could just have one heck of a Friday night and just watch all these shows coming out at once.
And in all honesty, for me, it's like I have no basis for comparison. So it's just I'm having fun. Like, I don't want to watch all of them because it's for me that becomes too much it bogs me down too much. But from just the first season of anime or the first time where I've really actually watched several anime in a season, I'm having fun. Not trying to get too invested for my own personal reasons because of the way I like to watch anime. But for what I have invested, yes, it's lots to watch, very entertaining amount overall.
Yeah, it's like lots of great shows, lots to watch, and you never know. There might be some shows here and there that fall off in their interest and kind of like, take a dip in quality and are like, okay, it can be dropped.
Just watch Isekai with My Mom is gonna be anime of the season.
Best anime of the season.
You never know.
Silence these naysayers. I am the best anime.
All the MILF lovers just come out of the forest to vote for it as anime of the season. But yeah, no, great shows this season, and I'm super happy to be an anime fan this time around.
Now, before we close out, and we might have to ask Speet to leave, but I kind of want to close out some of last season. Like, for one, how Dororo ended, as well as Attack on Titan and how that ended. Yep. Thank you, SpeteMaster, for joining us with this.
He still needs to watch Attack on Titan, the very last season. So
yeah, for those of you at home, he still has not binged it, but since it is finished, he will be doing that shortly once he finishes. He's currently watching, what, Reincarnated as a Slime, right?
Yeah, he's finishing up Slime, and then he's going to move into watching Attack on Titan. So,
but okay, so as far as Attack on Titan, I finally feel like this is a season that has ended in a way that was not so bad of a cliffhanger that I'll be angry for the wait.
Yes.
Like they dropped so much lore, so much of what's actually happening. It feels like, okay, all the first few seasons and the first half of season 3 was just world building, and then the last half of season 3 was, oh, we suddenly understand everything that's happening.
This is what the world actually is.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a good conclusion. We finally got our beach episode.
It was the worst beach episode I've ever watched. There was a huge lack of bikinis, but hey,
but
my
still the most
best boy
Armin
smiling while he's like splashing water at Mikasa.
And I remember, didn't we get a smile out of Mikasa too?
Yeah, she did her awkward smile first, and then Armin smiled and stole my heart.
Yeah.
Armin's the actual best girl, but yeah, no, just a fan. Attack on Titan proves why it's a fantastic show. It, like, we had our ups and downs. In season 1 it was like, whoa, hype, it's crazy, and then it was like really slow, and we're like, whoa, what's going on? And then it killed off a bunch of people, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? And then it ended like really fast, and you're like, oh no. And then it set you up for this crazy like new season where it's like, oh, cliffhanger, I can't wait for the next season. 4 years passed and now it's like, hey, Attack on Titan is back, and we're like, oh yeah, Attack on Titan. I forgot about that because I was so busy watching every other show over the past 4 years. But then it came back and was like, whoa, it blew you away with all this stuff.
Yeah.
It just kept changing. Like, things changed, but like the characters stayed the same, and we got to watch the characters develop in really weird and interesting ways. Like, Aaron is definitely not the same character.
Oh no!
From like the first couple episodes, he's definitely changed
not
as a character.
Arrogant and stuck up as he was before. He's a lot more humble.
Yeah, he's also like he's almost kind of pessimistic and like, kind of dark. He's really been damaged by all the stuff he's gone through.
Especially since like the Krista arc when he was like from then on he's been very like hesitant with what he does.
Learning what happened to his father was a big deal. Learning about what happened, like what's going on with the Titans in general, and like, that whole thing, and just like all the sacrifices they had to make to get where they are. It's like it's really crazy. But all in all, it was a fantastic season of Attack on Titan. I was super glad how they did it and how they animated it. So, and they also confirmed the last season of Attack on Titan is coming out. I think it's 2020 is what they confirmed for that. So actually, they are going to conclude Attack on Titan, and the manga is getting close to its own ending as well. So we should be getting close to that ending, and then the anime will conclude, and we'll have our full, complete Attack on Titan 100 episodes or whatever.
Which means you can finally buy the collector's box set when it comes out and have
I
whole
know.
big thing.
I don't want all these random like season 3 part 1 weird editions. I just want like the entire super edition of Attack on Titan that I can put on my shelf, and it's a really it's a great rewatchable show.
Oh yeah, I mean Nettie was just watching it with the sauce the other day.
Yeah.
They rewatched all of season 1 through 3 because she had never seen the ending of season 2 or season 3. So she goes, let's just watch it all. Like, hats off to them. They did it all in 1 week. Seasons 1 through 3. What, 59 episodes?
Oh yeah,
man, good on them. But every time they were watching it, I sat down and watched it with them.
Yep.
It's just good rewatchability. So I know there's not much to talk about it, but the ending to Dororo, I think, had us both kind of surprised, where we were like, that ended well.
Yeah.
We didn't know what they were going to do.
I was worried, and honestly, I think I did check out and see what the internet thinks, and there was a lot of people thought on the internet that it didn't end very well, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. But in my opinion, I thought it ended pretty good, because I was worried it was just going to totally crash and burn.
Peter off, yeah.
Well, I mean, it kind of did burn a little bit. It ended in a fire. Yeah. Well, no, the ending was in a fire. Like, it crashed and burned.
Lots of fire.
Yeah, exactly. But all in all, I'm glad that, like, the decisions they made were the decisions they made. They came out of it. And, like, I really like the scene where Hyakimaru confronts his father.
Yes.
In the end. That was a great scene, and it kind of established in it ended in the way that it started. Like, it started with him walking into that place and offering up his child or anything to the demons for them to, like, give him prosperity. And so he gets prosperity in a sense, but in that end, it reversed it all and showed what he traded was prosperity for this shallow prosperity. Like, he traded his son, who would be a great ruler, who would have, like, saved their country and led them into a bright future. He traded that away for this faulty security built on, like, you know, hollow ground, right? So that was and it was very cathartic to see him realize the truth of his own misfortune and his own folly in that decision. So I was like, oh, and, like, it was the first time I was like, I realized it. I was like, oh man, that's a great point. He actually made a great point about who Hyakimaru was. The demons wanted to take his body because he was he had lots of potential. So he sold away his child's potential for the temporary gain of the now. So he sold the future for the present. What he realized is he should have traded the present for the future. Yeah. And so that was his folly.
He would have led like a king.
Exactly. And he learned and had to suffer and live with that realization. So that felt really good. But yeah, I don't know why his mom and his little brother needed to die in the fire and just sit there.
That was kind
like,
of...
That was kind of like, I guess, I don't... We didn't see them die, but it was kind of assumed that they were, like, missing at the end. So I was like, oh, I guess they just sat there in the fire as it burned. And for some reason, like, Hyakimaru's adopted father was in there too, just chilling with them. He was like, oh, I guess I'll die here too. It was like, wait, what? I don't understand why.
At least we got to see a brief moment of adult Dororo.
Oh, yes. And we're like, oh, okay, this is what Hyakimaru has to look forward to in the future. And so really, we'd all speculate, like, oh, I wonder, she's going to be a hottie. And boom. Yes, she was. She looked a lot like Mio, so it was kind of like, oh, okay.
Kind of
a little
poetic
bit.
In a sense.
Yeah. But no, I was glad with the way it ended. I was worried that the ending was going to kind of suck because we had some suckage in, what was it, episode 15? Was that?
14, 15, one
yeah,
of those
it was that really weird animation episode where I was like, whoa, what the heck happened with the animation?
When you give it to the director.
It got super wonky, and we're like, okay, I'm worried about the series now. But thankfully, it ended pretty good. So, yeah.
Good, all in all. So
I'm back.
Oh, good.
We're done talking about Attack on Titan.
We are.
Yes, but now we've concluded. You've come back to say bye.
Good. That's what I was planning on.
Well, it's been a great time. Again, I'm Cherbie.
And I'm Malrogg.
And I'm SpeteMaster.
And he'll join us in the future, I'm sure. But for now, have a great weekend.
Bye.